Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Between a Rock and a Hard Place seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which in every round we have 4 rocks in every row. That gives us very limited board space, but today we are playing what is probably the strongest deck for this event. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Scoia'Tael Deadeye Ambush Elves Unitless Traps deck that focuses on playing a whole bunch of traps, and when we need to play a unit, playing elves, and in doing so, has a whole bunch of damage, makes it very hard for our opponents to deal damage to us, and has what is probably the strongest combo in this entire event. So, the general idea is that in round 1 in particular, we're going to spam traps, and so that means if you can get an Elven Scout out there early, then great. She'll get boosted after doing those trap triggering. And then after that, well, obviously you're going to play a bunch of traps, so you have things like the Incinerating Trap for damage, things like Pitfall Trap, which probably not as effective in this event because there isn't as much board space, but still a way to power up your Elven Scouts. And then outside of that, we have Serpent Trap, which, especially because there are generally not a lot of units in this event, you could even manually trigger this and destroy the one and only unit that your opponent has, which is a really nice option to have. And then also Mahakam Horn to boost adjacent units. Then on top of that, we have some other trapped synergizing units with things like Iorveth to basically replay a trap. Also, Eibhear to play another trap. And so that's, in general, what you want to use as your win condition in round 1 is spam all these trap synergies, and if you need to, you might break out some leader ability charges to spawn in some Elven Deadeyes as well, because you're not going to put up that many points unless you get one of your scouts boosted a ton from triggering a whole bunch of traps. For the most part, you're just loading up on all the damage, and that's how you're going to win in round 1. But then that changes in round 2/round 3, because what we're looking to do in that case is, because we have Devotion, we can use Eldain to not only convert any traps that we might have on the board in round 2/3 into 3-power Elven Deadeyes. This also converts all of the rocks, because those are all artifacts as well. So rather than having 8 spots of just useless stuff with those rocks, you can turn those into points, and a whole bunch of points at that, for basically no setup. So just drop Eldain for a huge tempo, which is fantastic, especially in a short round when your opponent just has few, if any, ways to match that. And then on top of that, you can use Vernossiel melee row for just boatloads of damage from having all those Deadeyes on the board. And then similarly, on the boosting side of things, Isengrim gets stronger depending on how many elves you have on the board, and after using Eldain, you have a ton. So in that way, you have just insane both damage and boosts in your round 3. And that's really all there is to it. You do also have the Saber-Tooth Tiger, which that, I suppose, would fit more in with your round 1 win condition of just trying to deal a bunch of damage to your opponents, and if you can get rid of some of the cards in one row with traps, then just makes it harder for them to play around the Saber-Tooth Tiger. But that's the idea. Tons and tons of damage in round 1, and then use Eldain, followed by, ideally, if you can get all of them, Vernossiel and Isengrim as well in round 3 for just ridiculous tempo. And when you do that, if you haven't summoned her out from your deck already, you'll probably get Aelirenn on the board as well, and that's just even more elves for even better synergies. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And they'll go first. Okay, so we have Vernossiel, who can be an amazing point slam, especially if we use Eldain to convert all of our rocks into Elven Deadeyes beforehand. That way, she just has tons of damage if we go melee row with her. Like to save that for round 3 for sure. So round 1, what's our plan? Ideally build around the Elven Scouts, but with them using Imprisonment, that might be a little bit tough to have you really kick off as an engine. So, I mean, I think we're probably still dropping these guys and seeing what we get. Okay, well, I mean, we can return the favor a little bit with some locks, so definitely going to be a low-scoring round 1 here. Okay, that cavalry, I mean, for what it's worth, we could have kept one of the making bombs and just destroyed you immediately that way. Would have locked you if we really wanted to. We could almost destroy you with this. I think, yeah, you're going to deal 2 damage, which makes you vulnerable. And it is pretty important that you stay alive. So tell you what I think we'll do. It's not worth a lot of points, for damage, but I think we go Crushing Trap on this turn. Then we go Elven Scout on our next turn, because what that does is that means that we can guarantee that at the end of the turn in which we play Elven Scout, she immediately gets boosted by 2 when this triggers. So you're going to get up to a 6, which just makes it a lot harder for them to remove her with damage. So I think that's the safest route in terms of keeping this card alive, which I think is important. Now, are they going to immediately lock her? That's a different question. I think the chances are probably still pretty high that that does happen, but we'll see. In the meantime, can we learn anything else about the deck that they're using? Going for some hand boosting. Okay, so now... And not thrilled that they put those in 2 different rows, but I guess they probably could anticipate there was at least a chance this was going to be Crushing Trap. So let's get you out now. And I guess your position doesn't matter too much. We're not about to fool them that this is a horn anyway. So let's just put you out here. This will trigger. And in doing so, get you up to a 6, which means even after taking some damage from you, you will still, hopefully, be alive, unless they have other sources of damage, which they may. But again, I'm expecting we may see a leader ability charge here. Okay, playing it looks kind of assimilate-ish, right? Imperial Diplomacy, Bribery, not a huge fan of that Saber-Tooth Tiger, of course. This is going to get hit. Oh! Huh. Oh, right, it needs the armor. Yeah, so by shutting down the armor, that's no longer dealing the damage, so that's nice. Swordmaster, I mean, technically is also an engine that we could benefit from getting out here, but I think... kind of interested in... I mean, it does seem like they have some specials, right? They've played one on both their previous turns, so... Serpent Trap, if they do that before flipping the Saber-Tooth Tiger, it would destroy that, and that'd be kind of nice. Alternatively, you know, we Eibhear and see what we get. We could... not really anything great to lock, now that we've shut you down for the most part. Maybe we play you... And... yeah, the earlier we play you, the better. It's one of the weakest cards in our deck, so I was kind of thinking we just wouldn't play it in this round, but we may be looking to play Eibhear and possibly Ciaran soon, so maybe even Iorveth soon, so yes, it can potentially work. Okay, you're going to create a copy of that. And hit this. Now we can get rid of your armor and shut you down, which I think we will opt to do. And in terms of what we're actually playing on this turn, well, I mean, let's do that first, because we might be about to play an elf and reduce our cooldown. So we can't lock you, but that's not as big of a deal anymore. So, I mean, they have potentially more units in either row. So, maybe we do Iorveth, get this trap back and see what we get out of it. Because I think Crushing Trap could be kind of interesting at this point. And we'll fake that this is a horn. Ooh, Amnesty is not bad. Not a bad choice, but that is actually going to immediately get... well, not immediately, but very soon going to get destroyed at the end of this turn. So, I mean, you got rid of our 2 points and a potential damage-dealing engine, but it's going to go away soon. So, now... so we don't really need to lock you either. It might be Eibhear. It might be Eibhear. And with you, we might go Horn, because I think in terms of pure points, this is probably the highest. And we, I think, do need that right about now. So there's the Crushing Trap, and it's decent damage this time round. And of course does boost up this Elven Scout as well. But of course we see when the Saber-Tooth Tiger flips, they do still have a decent lead on us. Okay, War Council, they might be trying to play around this. Tourney Joust. Okay. Because they know it's not a Serpent Trap. They did not flip this Saber-Tooth Tiger. We should lock it. We should definitely take this opportunity to lock it. I think we'll go that route. Yeah. And then we can suddenly play things in our range row. So we're running out of room in our melee row. So let's do that. Okay, it's a Fire Scorpion. Battle preparation. They're trying to figure out what this trap is, dude. Oh, they put armor back on you. That's not cool. So... and they have specials. So maybe this is the right time for a Serpent Trap. And... put you there. And I think... I mean, this is spawning, not playing, so it doesn't really circumvent you. You know, we could have gone Incinerating Trap just to hit you and remove the armor, but that felt like that was probably overkill. I think tempo-wise, I mean, this is actually going to be kind of hard for us to catch them at this point, I think. But we'll see. We still have this. This is not activated, so that's something. Okay, they'll destroy Ciaran with the leader ability charge. Don't think that's actually a huge factor, because this was not... it's not a horn, so it wasn't that important that stay alive. Okay, but that does remove you, so that is really nice. The poison might become a factor here. We'll have to see. And now... so... problem is, we're not getting as much value out of this anymore. So that's... would normally be 8, actually 10 points when it triggers on you. We really don't want to play units at this point, and we can't get anything else next to you. Unless we use Vernossiel or Call to Force. We really don't want to use those right now, because those are all things we want to save for a big tempo point slam in round 3. Can we still make this work, though? Ugh. I'm gonna try. Actually, if we do this... 1, 2, 3, 4... oh, it's not quite enough for Aelirenn, is it? No, we need one more, right? Okay, they do pass. That will flip this. And that gets us tied. And Incinerating Trap will not activate here, not by itself. So, tell you what, I think we tie here. I think we keep the tie. And in a short round, we can use Call to Force to get Eldain, flip all the rocks into Deadeyes, and then use Vernossiel to turn that into a bunch of damage. So I think that actually is fine with us. I think we'll take that. Again, one elf away from getting Aelirenn out here, and that would have been a round 1 win. Okay, so I think we're dumping these. Isengrim is amazing. Okay, love that. This is ideal combo here. This is still to get Eldain. Now, there's a chance if we mulligan this that we'll end up seeing Aelirenn, which would be unfortunate. So is that a risk we're willing to take? There are enough cards in our deck. We'll risk it. Okay, Crushing Trap, probably not going to be that good, but so be it. All right, so order of operations here. Yeah. Technically speaking, we probably do want to use Eldain or Crushing Trap pretty darn soon. Technically, if we go Crushing Trap, will eventually get turned into an Elven Deadeye once we use Eldain. So I think that's probably the first play, even if it's not going to be worth all that much when they obviously don't have anything on the board at the moment. But they don't know this is a Crushing Trap, so maybe we fake them out. Let's leave some room in our melee row, because that's where we're going to want to play Vernossiel. And for Toruviel, not sure which row we're going to want her. Defender. Melee row, is it? I'm trying to set up here. If so, that'll be kind of interesting. So, I think it's... I mean, it could be Toruviel. It it technically could be Toruviel. Obviously, we don't have a Deadeye yet, so it's not as effective, but if we're trying to delay and not show them our combo yet, then something to be said for waiting one more turn before we break out Eldain. But yeah, Eldain does set up Vernossiel, Isengrim, and to a slightly lesser extent, Toruviel as well. So, I mean, it's either way, it's not really breaking through your armor, so it doesn't make much of a difference at all. So I think we're just going to show Toruviel here. And again, what this does is, although it technically is not worth as many points, or at least not worth as much damage, either way, it was just going to remove the armor and nothing else. I mean, yes, I guess technically it means Crushing Trap would have broken through it slightly, but that's not a huge deal. The idea behind it was, if they're going to break out things like Hefty Helga and try to destroy powerful cards, then let's wait. Let's not show all of our units out here right off the bat, because then they can destroy some of them. That'll weaken Vernossiel, it'll weaken Isengrim as well. But that being said, we definitely need to play Eldain now. So we use him, and everyone becomes a Deadeye, and that gets out Aelirenn as well. So that's a huge point slam. And then it sets up an amazing Isengrim for boosts and Vernossiel melee row for damage. Curious what they... Oh, they don't get deployability here. So, okay, for a second I was like, are they going to try to turn into Eldain? That's not going to work. Okay, so Helga, yes, but what if we go... We might have enough damage to break through these shields to at least destroy one of the Hefty Helgas. I think we go Vernossiel next. And then we'll just... I mean, yes, they're going to try to destroy some of these Deadeyes, which means Isengrim might be slightly weaker, but I think we go Vernossiel. I think that's higher priority. Let's make sure we get the right row. So yeah, melee row gives us damage depending on how many Deadeyes we have. We obviously have a ton of them. And both Helga's down. So there goes all of their engines. Doesn't matter if they have the defender. Does not protect them here. Stefan, how many tactics do they have? And I'm not sure it's going to matter here, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure they know. Well, they should be trying to destroy these Deadeyes, not just weaken them. Because when they're on the board, that just means more targets for Isengrim to boost. So we will definitely use him here. Let's put him next to some ones in case they have a treason. I think they may have rage quit because they realized that there was absolutely no way they could out-tempo us here. And so there it is. It looks like they rage quit, so we'll take the win. Alright, so going up against Scoia'Tael here. And they'll go first. Alright, so we do have Saber-Tooth Tiger, which is usually a good first turn play. It's just substantially better on blue coin than it is on red coin, so not necessarily sure we're going to get that much value out of it here and now. I think we dump Swordmaster, definitely one of our weaker cards. Sorceress can give us some specials, which, I mean, speaking of specials, Tempering could help power her up if she does get hit by, you know, a Guerrilla Tactics charge or some of their damage. So, I mean, maybe that's a combo that we're looking at here. But, yeah, it's a little bit of a strange mix of things, but I think we'll keep it just because, yeah, I would have dumped Tempering if not for Sorceress. Because we were a little bit light on the traps to build around Elven Scout, but we might still try to do that. I'd like to save Isengrim. Well, speaking of which... And for what it's worth, we could turn right around and do the same thing now that they actually have kind of, sort of, not played a unit on their first turn, so maybe it is Saber-Tooth Tiger here. Alternatively, we can play basically anything and use the leader ability charge to avoid taking the damage from the Saber-Tooth Tiger. So those are both decent options. I think we will take this opportunity, though, to do exactly what they did. Okay, and it's Dol Blathanna Sentry melee row, so yeah, their intention is definitely to have us play a card. They'll use their leader ability to move it into a row by itself, and then do extra damage with this sentry and try to set up Saber-Tooth Tiger for damage as well. But again, we can circumvent that at least to a certain extent using our leader ability, and we did weaken you as well. So I'm thinking, or we could just spam some traps here and see what we can do from a damage standpoint with that, although we'd kind of like to get an Elven Scout out there before we start doing that. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll go flip the Saber-Tooth Tiger, we'll use an Elven Scout, and this would get damaged by Saber-Tooth Tiger unless we use a leader ability charge here to make sure that this is not the only unit in this row, because once we flip Saber-Tooth Tiger, it is technically an artifact, not a unit, so it would have gotten hit by that Tiger had we not spawned you in. So I'm expecting this to bait out a leader ability charge. But I think that's, you know, kind of overkill. So I'm sort of... Oh, or Malena. Okay, no, that's a solid play. That's a solid play. Oh, Milva. Okay. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. So their deck is perhaps not quite as simple as it might have initially seemed. And... for what it's worth... And this almost kills everyone guaranteed if we were to manually activate it, which is kind of tempting to tell you the truth. Just to shut down... This is a decent combo that they've set up here that I admittedly did not expect them to play Malena. So we might go for that. We might opt to go for that. It does mean that we'll probably want to, once again, put a Deadeye in this row here, just so we're not walking right into them doing extra damage to this scout. So I think we will manually trigger this, yes. Yes, okay, hoping to at least destroy one of them, and think Malena was the better card to get rid of, because that was the card that was going to make it more sustainable for them to do the combo that they were trying to do. Now, yes, they can still get extra damage, true, from this sentry, but I think that's not as big of an issue, because they have a limited number of times they can do that movement now that they'd have to use their leader ability to make it happen. Milva, the other kind, with immunity, which we technically can still find some ways to damage. They're debating whether to use leader ability on Elven Scout right now. But they won't. Okay. So... Crushing Trap drops you to 1. Eventually, but you're going to likely get boosted at the end of this turn. Might we use Eibhear and just see what traps we have available to us with him? I think we might want to do that. I think we might take a little bit of a gamble here and see what our options are. Because... you can get rid of you, for sure, but that's serious overkill. It's probably still Crushing Trap. I mean, yes, this is potentially worth more points, true, but that's short-term. This is long-term way to shut them down. And we'll likely make them a little cautious with what they play next. So I deliberately put this in between these two to make it seem like it might have been a horn, even though it obviously wasn't. Alright, Trained Hawk. Okay, that's a different source of movement, and that is clever. It gets Milva back out. They can get rid of her. This Milva still gets boosted. You're technically in a row by yourself, so you get damaged. And so now, at the end of this turn... Yeah, we're going to trigger this. It'll take you out, which will slow down any other movement synergies they have, because they'll get 1 less damage from it. Drop you down to a 2, which, I mean, for what's worth, they did give us space here, because this row was going to be full had they not moved someone. But, yeah, if we go Milva, melee row, then Crushing Trap destroys this Milva. Rather, Toruviel, melee row. We would probably still want to use the leader ability charge as well. I think that's okay. Yes, obviously it's our last leader ability charge, but I think that for the most part, we would run out of space if we were to aggressively use them all. So there we go, and that gets rid of all their cards there. So I think that means that, you know, much of their synergies here have been shut down. Yes, they technically still have a Harmony engine on the board, so they have some ability to build around that if they'd like to. Oh, I also should have put Toruviel over there to set up the Mahakam Horn, but no, they'll They'll pass. Because, yeah, this was still going to be pretty hard for them to catch up to us here. So we'll take the round 1 win in that case. On even cards, no less. Okay, and this Call the Force is big. Because this gives us access to Eldain. So we can go Eldain, Isengrim for a finisher. And that's actually really good tempo, even in short rounds. So I think we plan on that. Maybe we bleed a little bit in round 2 here with Sorceress, Tempering, and might dump Crushing Trap. I doubt we'll be able to get as much value out of it as we got in round 1, he says as he draws into another one. Although, Serpent Trap is very interesting. Very interesting. Would we like to use this in this round, or would we like to save that? Still, leader ability, they have all leader ability charges, so they could technically, upon us playing Sorceress, immediately use 2 leader ability charges and just remove her altogether. Or just one, if they do it once and say, haha, her power is so low she can't use her order ability, that's where we go not so fast, we have Tempering. I think we might still go that route for bleeding purposes. But it looks like they were worried about that round 2 push, and so they rage quit. Alright, so going up against Syndicate here. And we'll go first. Okay, so notably we do not have Eldain in hand, but we do have either Call the Forest, or because we're on blue coin, our stratagem to get that. So that is nice, but I think we might drop some Swordmasters here. Those are probably one of, if not the weakest cards in our deck. And, I dump you as well. Scouts, we could build around those in round 1 or round 2. Would like to save Vernossiel and Isengrim if we can. Plus Eldain in round 3 would be absolutely amazing. So, yeah, trying to go trap-centric here. Maybe we drop Making a Bomb and get another trap. Okay, so I think what we'll start off with, I mean, it could just be an Elven Scout, right? We'll just start with that. Okay, they're gonna get some coins, and, well, there's a chance they are going to be using a spender here. Okay, it's Skewer-Tooth. This looks a little familiar. Huh. How interesting. Okay, so, let's see. I mean, it is, of course, hard to hit him because he has the immunity. I think we're probably still playing the Incinerating Trap, though. This is going to be tough because they could just spam crimes, and even if they don't try to destroy our cards, Skewer-Tooth is still going to get higher, and it's not a lot we can do to shut him down. So I think we kind of just need to settle for destroying whatever they play next, and hoping that we can still overtake them with crimes. I'm thinking, yeah, we're probably going to want to swap this out for Eldain, but maybe we wait a little bit first. We could even, tell you what, if they use a crime here, I do have an idea. And we arguably should have done it on our previous turn. Okay, Scoundrel is going to get hit, and hit pretty hard at that. But I do have a plan. Let's see, if we go Curse Scroll, if we are concerned about that, I mean, also, Saber-Tooth Tiger when you're on blue coin is amazing, so that could have been some, well, we couldn't have done it on turn 1. Oh, we could have with Call the Force if we wanted to, and then used our stratagem to get Eldain. But what I'm wondering is if we go Serpent Trap here, and at the moment this would destroy their Skewer-Tooth, which we could have done on our previous turn if we really wanted to. We could even manually triggered it to make that happen. So I kind of like that prospect. I think we do it. I think we get this. And I think we dump maybe Crushing Trap. Then we use Serpent Trap. And we'll manually activate this to take you out. Then we'll use you. And here we're trying to probably mess with this Scoundrel. So he can still hit this Sorceress, and that's going to be a problem if he takes her out, and he definitely could. So it's going to trigger her, or trigger the bounty, give them more coins, and then they can sustain that more easily. So it does make matters tricky. Yeah. Okay, but this is not a great target for them to go after with bounty. I mean, they could... They spend their coins, their leader ability, they could still make it happen. But it's spending a lot of coins for what is ultimately just going to give them 4 back when they eventually trigger that, or destroy her. So... Now we definitely want to save this for Eldain. So that needs to stay. Like to save these two. I think we might go Eibhear. And with him... Actually, would have loved to have gotten another Serpent Trap here. That would have been amazing. But, you know, I mean, Mahakam Horn does work if they pass, but I doubt they will anytime soon. I think they're just going to earn some coins with a crime and then spend those coins to take out this Elven Scout. I think that's what they're going to go with. And they'll forfeit. They don't think they can handle us. So we'll take the win. So there's a look at a Scoia'Tael trap stack for the new Between a Rock and a Hard Place seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.